Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, great googly moogly. Hello, everyone. It's Nate. Welcome to episode 522 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And ladies and gentlemen, you read the message on the tin. Today, we are welcoming the number one Funketeer himself, Mr. Bootsy Collins is on the show. Now, Bootsy, as you know, he's an absolute legend. I mean, I'm sure you're all familiar with him. And today we have a chat. We cover a lot of ground. We talk about his time with James Brown. We talk Parliament and Funkadelic. We talk Buckethead. We talk what's happening with Praxis reissues. We discuss Bootsy's solo work, the super rare records of his early life. We deep dive a bit into his philanthropy, which has become an increasingly focal point of Bootsy's work over the last decade or more. Bootsy's got a brand new single with Buckethead, Mental Health, which we talk about. And we even discuss a project with his wife, Patty, a podcast, which they are keen to chat with, as well as Bootsy's continued focus on giving back to the community through music and action. This man is so full of joy. I mean, you can't help but just to smile big and laugh a lot when you're talking with Bootsy Collins. So please enjoy this conversation and check out his recent works. I got lots of links in this episode page to all that and more. And real quick, if you like the Vinyl Guide podcast and the work we do, please follow us in your podcast app. Make sure you hit that little follow button, and please consider becoming a supporter via Patreon. A few bucks a month means a lot. It helps keep the show going. So head over to patreon.com/vinylguide, and your support is appreciated. And with that, let's connect to the world's number one Funketeer, Mr. Bootsy Collins.
Hey.
Oh, my goodness.
How are ya?
Unbelievable, Bootsy. Good to see you, man. It's like seeing a superhero.
I'm just glad to be in the house, man. Wow. Definitely. Good to see you.
Great to see you, man. You got so much going on, and we got a limited time, so I'm going to jump right into it if it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Bootsy, I've been following your career ever since I was a little boy. And as I said, you are a bit like a superhero. And all these different things that you are doing for the community. You've got the Is Anybody Out There single. You've got the mental health single coming out. So many things going on. Tell me a little bit about your philanthropy and your giving back to the community.
I think, once you done something, and your whole thing is about giving. When you give, you receive. So my whole thing is continuing to give the music, and give it even more with a purpose. I never had a real purpose for the music other than here's what I'm feeling. I want you to feel good like we feeling, I want you to vibe with this, but to have a purpose, is a whole nother outlet for me. And if you ain't chasing something, then there's no reason to hunt, and this is my new way of chasing. I'm chasing this now, and it gives me, motivation. It gives me energy. It gives me a thing of, oh, you got something new to chase. You don't just have to just put out music. You can have something added to that music that makes it more purposeful. Let me say that word again. Purposeful. So and I think that that will enhance not only what I've done, but the end results of what I'm doing and why I'm here and why you're here, is not just to do what you do, but be who you are, and this whole thing I had to find out, you find out by going through those experiences, it's like, why would I want to go on the road because I'm chasing girls. Why would I want to continue to go on road? Because I'm getting high. That's where I get high. And you chase that and you chase that. But when those days are over, why are you still doing it? And I had to answer that. I have to answer to, why am I still doing it? I'm still doing it because I love music, but for me, I have to add something to that makes it real to me.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at right now.
You've always struck me as an artist that thinks bigger anyway, because even much earlier in your career, you were giving back. Again, my perspective, you were always giving back to other musicians that were guesting on their spots, working with people like Buckethead, who were kind of unknown at the time or relatively unknown in comparison. But that's always kind of seems to be in your DNA to think of the larger community. Is that fair?
That's very fair. And that's pretty much what's kept me, I guess, what you could call sane. The new record with Buckethead is called Mental Health. And it's a tip to the hat of mental health, because we all kind of go through it, whether we know it or not. It's usually something mental going on, and it happens to any and everybody, but I kind of I got a chance to face mine during an off period time. You get so big, you get so blown up that you kind of lose focus of where you really at. And so you start having a mental depression, Jimmy called it out early, manic depression, and so actually we're redoing that, and it's going to be on the new album as well.
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's amazing. Now you've worked with Buckethead for years and years. I think maybe you guys was the first project you guys worked together on Praxis.
No, the first one was we recorded it here in Cincinnati, 1991, called Bucketheadland, and we recorded the whole album here, and that's when we knew that we had something different, and it was not only felt good to us, everybody we let hear it was like, yeah, y'all should do something with that. And then we ran into Bill Laswell. That's where it really blew up right there, and we start figuring out what we were good at and how things worked, and how things worked in the studio. And we've both found out that having Bill Laswell in the middle of the mix producing was one of the best things that could ever happen. Recording there in New York. We was talking the other day about how much fun we had recording Praxis. People don't know that, people think, you just go in the studio and just have a blast, but you be coming up with stuff. It's fun to come up with stuff, but putting it all together, that's a whole nother thing,
Yeah. Because that first album, Transmutation, I remember that CD, and you had Bernie Worrell and Brain, he's a friend of the show here. So, we can't even find that record on streaming, let alone vinyl. Any idea why or when it could get reissued?
I have no, I don't really follow, that stuff and what happens. A lot of people ask me, why come so-and-so ain't on the, I personally think it's because, they probably messing with the ducats. They probably ain't.
That's always the reason, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my thought on it, but I don't know for sure why it's not on there,
Okay.
But Yeah.
What now? In a lot of the bands you've been in, maybe even going back to Parliament Funkadelic,
Yeah.
those early albums, Uncle Jam's Army, Up from the Downstroke. How much was rehearsed and practiced before going in the studio, and how much was made while the tape was running?
Pretty much what was made while the tape was running. I would always have some kind of idea in my head, before these little tape recorders came out and stuff. I would you know, practice the riff, and that would be all I know until I get to the studio. Once I get to the studio, it's about telling everybody, talking to everybody, and getting a vibe. That this is, we want to do this. Then when we go to the bridge, when we make the change, when we do this, that's pretty much all it is. And then that's when we start to really practice and play it. Take one, all of those were like practice spots, and until we get it, and I was always kind of like James Brown was, it has to be tight, it has to be, it has to be right, so we keep taking it until we get it right.
So it's almost, I would imagine, it's a bit of yin and yang between how James worked and how George worked.
Yeah, it was, James Brown thing was always tight. You don't miss no notes and make sure it's on the one.
Did you now? James is notorious for fining musicians for doing goof ups on the night. How do you remember how much you had to pay?
Not too much because we wasn't really into him fining us. We didn't have no money no way, so it was like he fined us. What you gonna do? Take our money? So after he realized that didn't really work, he stopped doing it. Because we wasn't really there for the money. Which later on we found out we probably should have been, but we were there because we thought we had to pay him. It was like just to be around this cat. Like James Brown was so big, we never thought we would ever, be in the studio with him, and then we wind up on the road with him. So
now, tell me, which came first, James Brown or some of those projects like House Guest or Booty Phelps and the Complete Strangers?
Yeah, those came first. Bootsy and Phelps, the Complete Strangers, House Guests. Actually, Complete Strangers was the one that led over into James Brown. We was the Complete Strangers before we got with James Brown.
Okay. Is that how you entered his atmosphere with those singles?
Well, actually, I think that was a part of it. I think we got the big go ahead about Bootsy and Phelps and the Complete Strangers. We got the big go ahead by recording over King Records and performing with different artists that King Records already had. Henry Glover took a liking to us, who was the producer over there at King Records. He was doing country, he was doing jazz, he was doing gospel, he was doing R&B, doo-wop. He was doing all of it, and he wanted to put us with different artists just to see how we would do. And once we did a couple of things real right, he was like, we were the talk of the town over there in King Records. And so James Brown heard about it. That's how he started, viewing in on us. And then he wanted us to go out on the road with Hank Ballard. That's when things really got started. We went out on the road with Hank Ballard. We did that, and we did that for about 2, maybe 3 months, and we never got paid. We never talked about it, and he sent us out on the road with Marvel Whitney. That was the next big, James Brown prepping us. We didn't know this, but he was prepping us for himself. Then after we did Marva, he was next.
You got a degree in JB University.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was good though. I mean, I must say.
Oh, I must. Yeah, it must have been like someone going to boot camp, music boot camp, and it just really kind of. Australians have a saying: it puts the iron in you.
Yeah. Or on you.
Oh. Now, King Records, that was run by Sid Nathan, if I recall. Yeah. Now, did you spend much time with Sid, or was that just purely?
No, it was mainly the studio. I mean, the whole thing, was we didn't even go upstairs. He was, his office was upstairs. Studio was like on the first floor, and then you walk down a couple of steps. Studio. That was, we usually came in the side door because that's where all the musicians would come in through. We never came in through the front because the front was the office. The front was where you walked into, and you had the art department. You had the distributing. So they had 45, they had LPs, all that stuff. We would go up there once we got finished recording just to see the records and see the artwork that's getting ready to come out. So it was like Disney World. It was Disney World. Yeah.
King Records, as a record collector, King Records are almost bulletproof. They're kind of like those old Blue Notes, to where no matter how handled, how well loved they've been, they always sound really well.
Yeah.
And so that must have been really. Now, we deal a lot with collectible records and things like that. Oh. Are you a bit of a record nerd, Bootsy?
I still got tons of records that that I had back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I know you've got this new album of the year, #1 Funketeer, on the website, this 2 LP set. So I would imagine you've got an affinity for vinyl. Is that your preferred format to listen to?
Yes, that's definitely it. Vinyl, analog, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no sound like that. I mean, I compare it to those, the warm lights, and then you got the hard, bright lights. Even in the house, I hate those hard, bright lights. Give me the warm lights, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Very good. Now the new projects you're working on right now, you got an upcoming album with this single with Buckethead. Oh, and Victor Wooten's on it too.
Right. Killer. Killer. Yeah.
And you said that, and Is Anybody Out There? Both of those are going to be on the new record?
Those two are on, yes.
No.
So
this is Patty speaking. Is that okay?
Patty? Sure. Absolutely.
She knows the details.
So, Metal Health is an album by itself with Buckethead and Bootsy and all the special guests. And then you've got Is Anybody Out There? That came off of the album of the year, #1 Funketeer. Title at that time was Anybody Out There.
Right.
When I decided, once I realized Bootsy wrote this song, and I was like, you know what? This is really resonating with me. He's been encouraging me to tell my story of abuse from a previous relationship for quite some time. So that song is what gave me that strength and ability to do it. So when he did it, we changed the name to Is Anybody Out There? Because I've been told that is one of the #1 questions that someone's going through domestic violence ask. Is anybody out there for me?
Mm-hmm.
So my podcast is called Is Anybody Out There? And the song is called Is Anybody Out There? And it released last Friday.
Excellent. Yes. Okay, well, I'll put a link to that podcast in this episode page as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mental Health is out too, right?
Yeah, Mental Health came out the week before Is Anybody Out There came out. So it's out now.
Yeah.
The
single.
With Bucket and Bootsy, the single.
And then
Free Bucket comes out
yeah.
Friday for Halloween.
Yeah. And that's starring
Jennifer Batt
from
Michael Jackson's guitar band.
Yeah,
I I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man.
So,
So
so
you
that's,
always have great firepower on your projects, Boots.
well, that to me is what this album, the Mental Health. This album is about musicians, really getting together, musicians of all, genres, getting together and freaking people out to where it's a good thing, letting people know that, if you put your head to it, you can do it. Here I am, with Buckethead, and that's like, what are they going to do together? Well, we're going to show you what we can do together, and for me, that's the fun part of it now, just like letting people see that you can do this if that's what if that's what you want to do, because we get set in these rules. It's like boxes. You get set in those boxes and you won't venture out. But we have to venture out. A kid has to learn. A kid has to learn the possibilities. And the only way he's gonna do that, he ain't gonna just learn that from mom and dad. You have to venture out. You have to do your own experiments. And see where that takes. But you got to be willing to take the chance and the sacrifice. So you might win, you might lose. That's a chance you have to take.
Well, you don't lose if you take the chance anyway.
Right.
What's something? It's curious because again, the collaborations you have with Buckethead have been quite up my alley. What's something you learned from playing with Buckethead?
When to stay out of the way and when to get in the way. I think that's a lesson probably for all of us.
My wife's still trying to tell me that lesson. That's
I mean, most of the time we never learn. We never learn, especially the guys. Guys are terrible at it. But at the same time, it's like, for me, that's the fun part is knowing, like, and feeling what your partner is gonna do. Like, okay, I can feel like he wants to really, shred right here. So let me stay out of the way.
So let me ask you a question, because both you guys, you're very well known for headgear. When you're recording, the glasses, the mask, the hat. I mean, do you remove them so you have the visual cues?
He has to, now. Bucket has to have his bucket on,
right.
And the mask. He got to be Buckethead. I kind of have learned how to. I'm like half and half. It's like either it's the hat or it's the glasses. It's one or the other, because you got to get in character. I mean, and the rest of it is like, it's like acting like you're on stage. When you're in studio, for me, it's like not really acting, but just you're on stage. It becomes a thing where it's automatic. You don't have to put yourself on stage. You're on stage, And so do I go on stage with a hat or do I go on stage with my glasses? So, you don't really think about those things. It's just, some people have a harder time. Bucket is definitely, he has to be Bucket, no question about it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just wondering how the visual cues while you record work. You can't see the eyebrows raising like, ooh, I like that, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Look, I know we've got limited time. One of the project I wanted to ask you about is an artist you worked with. I love Eddie Hazel. Yeah. Especially that album, Game, Dames, and Guitar Things. Tell me a little bit about that record.
What we used a lot of was some of the songs I had recorded on my first album, the Bootsy Rubber Band first album, without vocals. And Eddie did the lead guitar work on it. And George, again, he thought that would be a great idea, because I guess he was thinking about, um, you know, I was new to this is my first record, and Eddie, this would be his like really introduction, besides being Funkadelic's lead guitar player. This would be his solo, So George seemed to think that, hey, let's just use, pretty much Bootsy songs and, use them on Eddie, because this should help both of the projects,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was a good move because Eddie just killed, he just killed it, and we knew he was going to do that, but it turned out better than I even expected, because I guess because the songs were the songs I had cut,
Yeah, it seemed, again, just kind of thinking back, I know I've said superhero a few times during this conversation, but it's like George saw each of you as having your own Marvel superhero movie.
Yeah.
Very forward thinking.
Yeah, and not only that, he allowed us to go ahead and develop.
Mm-hmm.
James Brown would have never did that.
Right.
I mean, he had his thing, and that's what it was going to be, his thing. And so we all knew that, and everybody was cool with it.
Yeah. Now, was there plans for more Eddie Hazel solo albums?
Yeah.
What was the thinking around those?
Well, the good thing about the funk was we didn't think too much. When you're down with the funk, you don't have time to think.
There were a lot of things going on. I understand.
But the back seat, the studio couch, there was just stuff going on, so we didn't really have time to think. It was like when it's time to hit it, like you said on the Horny Horns record, when you hear the horns blow, you better be ready to go. So we had a lot of fun with it, but we really didn't have time to think. When I go back and think about those days we spent in the studio, I don't know how we got stuff done. It was so much going on. I don't know how we had time to do all of those things we were doing.
Didn't sound like a lot of sleep was happening, but
it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't.
But it was like, oh, we've got a free weekend. Let's do a Eddie Hazel record, or let's do, Bootsy. What are you doing next Thursday? Let's get everyone together. And
no, we didn't. It was never pre-set up. It was always, oh, let's go to the studio. It was always because we was always doing something, always doing something. So it wasn't a pre-set up. It was like, once we started on the road, we were on the road. And it was like working pretty much every day, and so we would have to fly into Detroit, the P-Funk Lab. We would have to fly into there when we actually came up with something we might want to record. You have to go to Detroit. We'd fly there, do what we needed to do, then fly back to the gig.
All right, I know we're running out of time. Last question: best funk album you're on, and best funk album you're not on.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Nobody never asked it that one. I don't even know how to answer. Best funk album I'm on. Oh, I would probably have to say, wow, best funk album I'm on. I would probably have to say, probably the first album, Stretching Out, and I would have to say Parliament, Mothership Connection, Swing Down, So, but the other one, what was the other question?
Best one you're not on, your favorite funk album, maybe.
Favorite funk album. Ooh, I probably can tell you the favorite funk single. Will that work?
Sure. Whatever. Actually, probably whatever record you're jealous you're not on, maybe.
Oh, wow. No, I never felt that way.
Yeah, that's a tough one for him. I think.
Wait a minute. Let me try to come up with some. Okay. Was it Reach For It that George Duke did? Was it Reach For It? Yeah, I think it was Reach For It. I was in the studio in Hollywood across the street from where he was at, and he wanted me to come over to put vocals on Reach For It while I was recording The Name Is Boots. And I couldn't go over, and he messed around and finished the record without me, and it came out to be a smash. Both of them, The Name Is Bootsy and Reach For It by George Duke. So yeah, I guess that would be the one.
God bless George Duke. And you, Bootsy. Thanks again. Take care, Patty.
Appreciate you.
Be well. All right. Cheers. He's such a joy. I just had this smile on my face for hours afterward, and just listening to him talk brings it all back. So again, I got lots of links in this episode page to Bootsy's recent works, and hope to have him back on the show. We'll continue doing some deep dives, and maybe one day we'll see some of those Praxis reissues on vinyl. That would be amazing. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who's sharing these episodes on social media and leaving us positive reviews. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to hop on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. 5 out of 5 stars. Say something nice. That is always appreciated. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, you all behave yourselves. And thanks again for listening to The Vinyl Guide podcast. Cheers.